The camera flash was a physical blow, a white-hot sting that made Adunni blink. She stood frozen at the edge of the glittering crowd in the grand ballroom of the Eco Hotel in Lagos. It was the night of March 15, 2024. The air smelled of expensive perfume and ambition. And there, under the sparkling chandelier, was the man whose dreams she had fed with her last naira, whose head she had prayed over, whose future she had woven with her own hands. Toby. Now dressed in a sleek, white agbada that cost more than her rent for a year. His arm was draped around the waist of a woman so slender and light-skinned she seemed to glow under the lights. Kemi. A social media influencer with 1 million followers. The reporters shouted questions. Toby. How does it feel to be the hottest new designer in Lagos? Toby smiled, a dazzling, practiced thing. It is a blessing. God and hard work. The reporter pressed. Is it true you started with nothing? Toby laughed, pulling Kemi closer. We all start somewhere. But you must have vision. Adunni's heart hammered against her ribs. Say my name, she begged silently. Tell them about the rainy Tuesday in Mushin. Tell them about the bowls of Eva Agoin. Tell them about me. The reporter asked, who was your biggest supporter on this journey? Toby looked at Kemi, his gaze fond. This one here. She believed in the vision from day one. The word blurred. The noise faded to a ringing in Adunni's ears. She had sold her mother's gold chain to buy him his first good scissors. And he had just erased her from his history as easily as wiping dust from a table. What would she do now, standing there invisible in the shadow of his glorious lie? Hello, welcome to the echoes from the baobab tree. Kindly support the channel by subscribing to the channel, like and share with your loved ones. Let's continue the story. 2 years earlier, in the bustling, noisy heart of Balogun Market, Lagos, Adunni Oladipo was a steady rock in a rushing river. At 29, she was a woman built of soft curves and quiet strength, running her late mother's fabric store, Amo Textiles. Her hands, which could measure out 2 yards of lace by sight alone, were also known for their kindness. She was the one who gave extra thread, who minded a child while a mother bargained, who offered water to weary reporters. Her younger sister, Bonmi, sharp and stylish, often sighed. Adunni, this world is not for kind people. It eats them up. Save your kindness for those who will remember. But Adunni believed the heart was not a ledger. She believed in good deeds for their own sake. It was a stormy afternoon in July 2022. The Lagos rain fell not in drops but in sheets, flooding the market alleys. Adunni was covering her boats of ankara with tarpaulin when a figure stumbled into the shallow shelter of her store. He was drenched, shivering violently, clutching a soaked portfolio to his chest. His clothes were threadbare. Sister, please, he stammered, teeth chattering. His eyes, wide with desperation, met hers. Without a word, Adunni pulled him inside, handing him a dry cloth. His name was Toby Akinjide, a 25-year-old fashion design apprentice from a ruthless tailor in Ibadan. He had come to Lagos with sketches and hopes, but the city had been cruel. He hadn't eaten properly in days. As the rain drummed on the roof, he opened his portfolio. Adunni's breath caught. The designs were breathtaking, traditional Yoruba silhouettes exploded into modern, architectural art. They are nothing, Toby said, voice thick with defeat. Just drawings. I am nobody. Nonsense, Adunni said firmly. That evening, in her small, tidy room in Mushin, she served him a hot, generous plate of pounded yam and egusi soup. He ate like a starved man, tears mixing with the steam. He told her of his dreams, his harsh master, his nights sleeping under a cutting table. Adunni listened, her generous heart swelling with a familiar urge to fix, to nurture, to uplift. Later, as he prepared to go back into the rain, she stopped him. Stay, she said. The floor is clean. You can't go back there. The gratitude in his eyes was so profound it felt like a reward. A partnership was born. Toby began sleeping on a mat in Adunni's living area. She gave him fabric remnants and offcuts from her store, pieces too small for customers but perfect for his prototypes. She shared her food, her space, her peace. At night, by the light of a rechargeable lamp, he would cut and sew. Adunni would sit nearby, sorting beads or sketching ideas. He started calling her my angel. He held her hand. One night, after he completed a stunning asymmetric booba, he looked at her and said, "When I make it, Adunni, we will make it together. Everything I have will be yours." In that moment, she felt seen, valuable, loved. 6 months later, their big chance came. Adunni used all her savings to rent a tiny corner at a prestigious art fair in Victoria Island. Toby's 5-piece collection, crafted from Adunni's fabric scraps and her unwavering belief, stopped people in their tracks. A well-known boutique owner, Mrs. Adebayo, bought the entire collection. The order she placed next was life-changing. Toby Akinjide was no longer a nobody. He rented a small workshop. He got a smartphone. Adunni's joy was pure and full. She managed his orders, handled his money, and continued to cook his meals, her own dreams for her fabric store quietly set aside. But a subtle chill entered the air. With his new phone, Toby discovered Instagram. His feed filled with images of slim, glamorous fashionistas. He started making comments. "Adunni, you should try this waist trainer." Or, "This umla is too heavy for my schedule now." He began going to networking events alone. "You wouldn't enjoy it," he'd say, adjusting his new, sharper clothes. The mat on her floor was gone. He had his own place, a single room in a better part of town. He still needed her, but now as a manager, not a savior. The tenderness in his eyes was replaced by distracted calculation. The catalyst for the change had a name, Kemi. She was an Instagram model with 300,000 followers. She discovered Toby's page and tagged him in a post. Overnight, his followers tripled. He started dressing her for events. In photos, they looked like a perfect pair, a young, beautiful, trendy. Adunni saw the pictures while eating alone in her quiet room. Her sister Bummi's warning echoed in her mind, "Adunni, you will regret feeding that hungry man when you become successful yourself." She shook it off. Love was loyalty. Wasn't it? The neglect became a constant ache. Toby missed the dinner she cooked for his birthday. He forgot to repay the small loans she gave him for tailoring equipment. One afternoon, she went to his new workshop with his favorite snack, puff puff. She found him laughing with Kemi, their heads close over a design sketch. When he saw Adunni, his smile vanished. "Adunni, you can't just walk in here," he said, annoyance sharp in his voice. Kemi gave Adunni a slow, dismissive glance, from her headscarf to her comfortable shoes. Adunni placed the puff-puff on a table. "I just wanted to bring you this," she whispered. Toby didn't even look at it. "I don't eat that kind of stuff anymore. Not good for the brand image." The final blow came on a humid Tuesday. Toby summoned her to a trendy cafe in Lekki. He was late. He didn't order anything for her. "Adunni," he began, not meeting her eyes. "I am grateful for all you did. But the brand is moving global. I need a partner who fits the aesthetic. Kemi has connections. She understands this world." Adunni felt the cafe walls closing in. "And what am I?" she asked, her voice trembling. He finally looked at her, and his gaze was not unkind, just brutally honest. "You are my foundation." "But foundations are buried, Adunni. They are not seen." He slid an envelope across the table. "There is 50,000 naira there. For your trouble." As she stared at the money, the truth exploded within her. She had not been a partner or a lover. She had been an investment. And now, He was cashing out. Before she could react, before the tears could fall, his phone buzzed. He looked at the screen and his face lit up. It's Kemi. They want us for a cover shoot. He stood up. Think about it, Adunni. Be sensible. And he walked out, leaving her alone with the envelope and the shattered pieces of her faith. But deep down, beneath the pain, a new, fierce emotion began to spark, a raw, burning anger she had never allowed herself to feel before. Adunni looked at the envelope of money on the cafe table. The hum of air conditioning and gentle jazz music felt like an insult. Her trouble, her kindness, her love, her sacrifices, reduced to trouble worth 50,000 naira. A fire, hot and clear, erupted in her chest, burning away the tears. She did not pick up the envelope. Instead, she stood up, her chair scraping loudly. Every eye in the cafe turned to her. She looked at the money, then at the door through which Toby had vanished. With a calm she did not feel, she reached out, not for the envelope, but for the glass of water he had left behind. Slowly, deliberately, she poured the water over the cash, soaking the naira notes. Then she turned and walked out, leaving the ruined money on the table. The first step towards her new life was a step away from his payoff. But what would her first real step be? For 2 weeks, Adunni was a ghost in her own life. She closed her fabric store. She lay in bed in her mushing room, the curtains drawn, listening to the sounds of a world moving on without her. Her sister Bunmi arrived, not with, "I told you so," but with a pot of stew and a fierce hug. "He was a lesson, Adunni, not a loss," Bunmi said, stroking her hair. "The lesson is that you must never make yourself small so a man can feel big." The words began to seep through the numbness. One morning, Adunni looked at her cracked mirror and whispered to her reflection, "Who are you without him?" The answer started with a single decision. Adunni reopened Ayamo Textiles, but with a new vision. She would not just sell fabric, she would create beauty. Using the skills she'd honed helping Toby, she began making simple but stunning head wraps, gellies, and matching clutch bags from her off-cut fabrics. She called her new line Alosiweju, which means progress. Her first customer was Mrs. Adebayo, the boutique owner who had first bought Toby's clothes. "My dear, you have an eye for color," Mrs. Adebayo exclaimed, buying 3 pieces. It was a small sale, but it felt like a universe away from Toby's charity. 3 months later, in November 2022, Adunni's small business was growing. She hired a young apprentice, a quiet girl named Kayamika, to help with stitching. The workshop was now her back room, filled with the scent of fabric and ambition, her own. She avoided social media, but Kayamika showed her a post one day. It was Kemi, wearing a Toby Akinjai design, announcing their creative partnership with a luxury hotel. Adunni felt a pinch, not of jealousy, but of a strange relief. That world was no longer hers. She was building her own. The test came unexpectedly. A wealthy client from Abuja ordered a complete Oswebi set, fabrics and accessories for 50 guests, for a huge wedding. The deposit was more money than Adunni had ever held. The pressure was immense. Late one night, overwhelmed by the sheer scale, she almost called Toby for advice. Her finger hovered over his name. Then she put the phone down. She called Mrs. Adebayo instead, who guided her gently. Adunni completed the order flawlessly. The client's praise was a bomb. She had leaned on her own network, not his. By mid-2023, Adunni's reputation for exquisite, personalized styling was spreading. She was invited to speak at a small women's business forum in Ibadan. On the stage, her voice was shaky at first, but grew stronger as she spoke about resilience, about finding your own path. Afterward, a man approached her. His name was Femi, a potter with gentle eyes and rough, creative hands. "Your story moved me," he said. "Your beauty is in your strength." He didn't ask for anything. He simply saw her. Adunni and Femi began a gentle courtship. It was nothing like the desperate, hungry partnership with Toby. It was calm, full of laughter and mutual respect. Femi loved her for her mind, her heart, her drive. He celebrated her success without feeling threatened by it. One evening, as they shared a meal of rice and fish, Adunni realized she hadn't thought about Toby for an entire week. The wound had finally scarred over. In January 2024, the universe presented a twist of fate. Adunni was selected as the lead stylist for a major cultural festival at the Nike Art Gallery in Lagos. Her job was to style all the models representing Nigeria's different ethnic groups. The list of designers supplying clothes was long and prestigious. And there, halfway down the list, was Toby Akinjide. Her heart did a somersault. She would have to face him, professionally. The rehearsal day was chaos. Designers, models, and stylists buzzed everywhere. Adunni, clipboard in hand, was directing a model in a majestic Benin-inspired ensemble when she heard his voice. The drape on this is all wrong. Toby was criticizing another stylist, his tone arrogant. He turned, and his eyes locked with Adunni's. He froze. The Adunni he saw was radiant. She wore a bold, custom-made buba and iro from her own line, her hair wrapped in a gorgeous gele. She looked successful, confident, and utterly at peace. He looked tired. The glamour was still there, but it seemed strained. Kemi was nowhere to be seen. Adunni, he breathed, taking a step toward her. Before he could reach her, the festival director called, "Adunni. We need you on stage now, please." She gave Toby a polite, distant smile, the kind you give a vague acquaintance. "Excuse me," she said, and walked away, not looking back. She climbed the steps to the stage, where the director handed her a microphone to address the crew. As she spoke, her voice clear and commanding, she saw Toby at the edge of the crowd, watching her, a complex mix of regret, shock, and longing on his face. But Adunni felt nothing for him but a faint, distant pity. She had built her own palace, brick by brick, from the ruins he had left. And as the spotlight warmed her skin, she knew the greatest success was not in the grand event or the famous faces, but in the quiet, unshakable knowledge that she had saved herself. She was Adunni Oladil, founder of Ilosewaju. And her story was only just beginning. Thank you for watching. Kindly like and subscribe.